What we know about this is there's this guy in Pakistan that was hired by a congressional guy, and who was it at first? It was Robert Wexler, a congressman, Democrat from Florida. And it was back in 2004, and he hired this Pakistani guy to come and do IT. We don't know anything about him. We don't know when he came into the country. We don't know what his background was. We don't know if he has any experience in IT. We know nothing. What we do know was that he was hired. We don't know for how much. He was hired, and then quickly, within a year, Wexler convinces Debbie Wasserman Schultz to also use him as her IT chief. And within that year, the average salary for an IT person, for members of Congress, is between $40,000 and $60,000. We do know that after a year of working there, he might have started at this, he was making $120,000. So he was making at least double what the average IT person would make on Capitol Hill, and for no reason that we know of. As soon as he is hired by Debbie Wasserman Schultz, for some reason, Imran, the Pakistani guy, says, I need somebody else. So who does he hire? He hires Abid Awan. Now, Abid Awan is the brother of Imran. We don't know if he had any IT experience. We know nothing about it. But he is also hired and brought on at about $120,000 a year. Again, double the highest IT person in Congress. Next, within a year, Juan starts to grow his list of congressmen in the Democratic Party. And he says, wow, it is getting so big and so out of control. I need to be able to hire a couple of additional people. Okay, are they IT people? You bet. My wife is one of them, and the other one is my best friend. Okay. Now, they're both making over $120,000 a year. His wife has no IT experience, and his friend, his best friend, who is brought in, which is Rayo, what's his last name? Abbas. He goes from his very prestigious job of literally assembling the Big Macs at McDonald's to a $120,000 job as an IT person. So we're now at least talking about cronyism and nepotism, which is everything that the Democrats say they're against. But we have them at what? Hypocrisy? I'll alert the presses. So there's nothing really here except something strange. Now, about 2008, they start buying homes. And they start buying multiple homes in Virginia. Now, this is a group now, I think, 4 people. It will expand to 4, 5, 6 people by 2010. And these 6 people are making a total salary of $4 million doing IT for Congress. They're now making more than the best paid congressman of $168,000 a year by this time. And they start to buy all of this property in Virginia. Okay, they're doing well. They're going to invest. They're buying houses. Okay, so they all go out at the same time, and they all buy houses through the Capital Credit Union, meaning the Bank of Congress approves these loans. They all go out at the same time, and they start to buy houses. Then the next thing they do, and this is in 2009, they decide they're going to start what they call the CIA car dealership. And I believe what was it? Central?
No, it's Cars International A.
Cars International A. Yeah, that's what it was.
Which is really weird.
Right.
Like Cars International seems like it could be normal, but then they just put A at the end of it to make it CIA.
Right. So it's the CIA dealership. They're not really good at this whole dealership thing. What happens in 2009, as they buy the dealership, Abid's car is repossessed. So now he's in financial trouble. National security clearances. These guys would have to have national security clearance to be able to work for the IT department or be an IT department. The first time you have your car repossessed, you declare bankruptcy, you have some financial pressure. Your security clearance, if you're a low man on the totem pole, is immediately revoked because you are now a target for a foreign agent trying to put pressure on you. No questions are asked. Here is flare number one. No question. Flare number. I think McDonald's to the IT department might be flare number one. His car being repossessed. Congress does nothing. They do not look into his security clearance at all. No one questions it. Then in 2010, the CIA car dealership declares bankruptcy. Now it's bankruptcy for his business, and no one is questioned on their security clearance. Then a year later, Abid himself declares bankruptcy. Here's where it really gets interesting. He declares bankruptcy and immediately gets onto a plane and goes over to Beirut, where he meets with a guy who was one of the guys who was big in the lead up of the Iraqi war. They meet in Beirut. They just have a nice conversation, and we don't know what they talked about, but this guy is connected to Hezbollah. They meet in Beirut, and the guy's name is Dr. Al-Attar. He is an Iraqi politician linked to Hezbollah. They meet in Beirut, and the doctor says, man, I love, you know what's really clever? Cars International A. I think that's brilliant. I think you have something there. I want to invest in your company. So the company has just gone bankrupt. He goes over to Beirut, meets with a guy who has connections to Hezbollah, and the doctor writes him a check for $100,000. Now, if you've gone bankrupt with a car company, $100,000, I mean, first of all, you're in bankruptcy. You don't want a $100,000 investment. You're in bankruptcy. What are you doing? He's investing because he believes in a Wan family. Nobody questions that. That raises no red flags. Then 2 years later, 1 year later, 2013, Hasib Rana joins the IT group. We don't have any idea if he had any IT experience. He's being paid an exorbitant salary. And then Amran's brother, Jamal, also joins the group. So now we have the Friends and Family program, and they are representing all kinds of Democrats and Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Okay, so here's what happens. July, do you remember right before the Republican convention, WikiLeaks dumps all of this information. And it's all about the ins and outs and all these records about who? Republicans and Democrats and the DNC. Within days of that happening, here's what happens. The group decides we got to sell our house. We have to sell our houses right now. But they're not selling their house to outsiders. They're saying, I bought my house for, I'm making these numbers up, $500,000. You know what it's worth now? $800,000. Oh my gosh, my brother. That sounds like a good deal. I'd like to buy your house for $800,000. Well, but you have another house. I know, but I'm selling my house, which was worth $500,000. Now I'm selling it for $800,000. Oh my gosh, my brother. You know what? Let me buy your house and you'll buy my house. What were they doing? They were inflating the prices of their house. They were then going back to the Capital Bank and saying, hey, we're going to sell our house to each other at these prices. We're going to get the loan for those prices. They're not really selling their house. They're taking the extra money and they're keeping that cash. So they immediately start to sell things immediately. And then there's a wire transfer to Pakistan, and it's Amran that makes this phone call to the bank, the Capital Bank in Washington, D.C., in the Capitol building, the credit union, says, I need to transfer $283,000. I'm sorry, let me play this out. Capital Credit Union. Oh, yes, this is the wife of Amran, and we need $283,000 transferred to Pakistan for a funeral. What? For a funeral. And this is definitely not Amran. This is his wife. And I need $283,000. Well, we can't transfer it for a funeral to Pakistan. We can't. Oh, hang on. My husband just got home. Hello? Were you just talking to my wife? I tried to tell them. Yeah, it's not a funeral. It's, we're buying property in Pakistan. The credit union says, oh, okay. He literally called as his wife tried to transfer money to Pakistan for one kick-ass funeral of $283,000 funeral. I don't know what they bury people in, but that's got to be nice.
Do you know what funeral potatoes are going for these days?
It's a lot.
A lot. They're expensive.
So he transfers that money to Pakistan. Immediately, the Capitol Police begin a criminal probe. This call happens in January. By March, the real wife, not this wife, but the real wife, gets onto a plane with the kids, goes to Pakistan. They're now under government protection of the government of Pakistan. She's there with God only knows how much money and the $283,000 that was transferred. Here's where, so far, all you have is something really weird going on. You have at least banking fraud.
Oh, yeah.
But there's probably so much more going on here, all the way up to espionage. We don't know. Could be blackmail. We do know this, that after she fled the country, Representative Ted Lieu from California, is that how you say his name? Is it Lieu? He's a Democrat. He had a bead as his IT guy. He's one of the only ones. He immediately fires a bead. Then what does he do? Then he gets on the phone and he calls the Secretary of Homeland Security. He calls John Kelly and says, John, I just want you to look into something with the IT servers. I think there's a problem, and I believe it will track all the way to Mar-a-Lago. I believe the president's communication is in jeopardy. Now, that's all we know. Do you think that's worth explaining to the American people? Do you think that's worth investigating? Why were the people in D.C. paying them so much money? Were they being blackmailed? They had access to all of their servers and all of their email. Do you think any congressman might have something that they just don't want out?
Do you think this warrants a little extra attention? I mean, hardly anyone is talking about this.
No, and they're not in Capitol Hill. They're trying to shove this under the rug. Because there's so many people involved, they're trying to shove this under the rug. This cannot be shoved under the rug. This has nothing to do with Democrats or Republicans. Has nothing to do with the DNC or, let's get them. It has nothing to do with that. If the GOP were doing this, I'd be saying exactly the same thing. There's a problem here, and we need to figure it out now. So the one thing I did leave out, I just assumed everybody remembered, that Amranaran is the guy, I can't never pronounce his name. He was arrested as he was trying to flee to Pakistan. Now, I can tie this together and give you conjecture on what I think happened, but I want to make sure that you have the facts and separate the facts from now my opinion.